to withdraw the SANDF from Eastern DRC, citing its collaboration with the FARDC and militia groups, including the genocidal FDLR. Media and communication experts say that in today's world, technology has made it easier to share information, but people must be cautious as some use technology to spread falsehoods. And on the international scale, Ukrainian culture is booming amid the war with Russia. That's despite the constant rocket attacks and damage to almost 500 heritage sites, according to UNESCO. Once again, we're glad to have your company tonight, coming to you straight from the heart of Africa, Kigali. And my name is Martina Abera, and I'll be bringing to you tonight's bulletin. Let us start off by informing you that members of the South African Parliament's Defence Committee have urged their government to withdraw the SANDF from Eastern DRC, citing its collaboration with the FARDC and militia groups, including the genocidal FDLR. We have more of this report coming from Adam Squizera.
This took place during a briefing to the Parliament's Committee of Defence, reiterating on the security situation in the Eastern DRC and the current status of the South African National Defence Force, SANDF, delivered by Defence Minister Anshi Mochega and SANDF Chief General Nzani Mapwanya. The South African Parliament has questioned its defence organ over its mandate in the Eastern DRC, noting that it's not on peacekeeping mission and that clarification should be made on what they are protecting in the area of deployment. They highlighted that there have been lies spread by both Minister and President Ramaphosa on this.
Why are you Minister? And why is the President lying to us about the nature of the operation that we have in the DRC? It is not a peacekeeping mission. It is an offensive mission, and it is defined as such.
South African MPs raised concerns over inconsistencies in explanations given by the Minister of Defence and the SANDF chief regarding the budget allocated for the military mission in DRC. They were questioning whether South African forces were engaged in genuine peacekeeping operations or being deployed to protect specific interests.
And you always claim that you don't have the budget, you cry about the budget cutting, but you do have money, you do have resources to go and protect and defend other countries instead of peacekeeping. This is not a peacekeeping. Can we think about the lives of these people?
The members of this Committee of Defence also expressed concerns about the South African Army and the genocidal militia, FDLR.
Is our South African soldiers fighting alongside the FDLR, alongside when they were there, in order to reach the objective? Because many of these soldiers in the FDLR were reportedly involved in the genocide in Rwanda. If South Africa is going that route, if they're fighting alongside those forces, why is it that South Africa is going rogue? Rogue, yes. And why are we so determined to fight and achieve the objective to protect the minerals of the wealthy, the politically exposed of this country, South Africa, and all other connected people?
The response from the South African officials failed to convince the MPs, leading them to urge the government to withdraw its troops from the Eastern DRC. They questioned whether the deployment truly served the national interests of South Africa or if it was aligned with the personal interests of President Cyril Ramaphosa. Adam Squizera, RwandaTV News.
Thank you, Kwizera, for that report. After the United States announced a reduction in aid channeled through its Agency for International Development, USAID, international development analysts argue that it is time for Africa to reduce its reliance on foreign assistance and embark on a path toward self-reliance. Reducing foreign aid is every possible way was one of the pledges made by U.S. President Donald Trump during his campaign. Earlier this week, it was announced that the U.S. Agency for International Development would be dissolved and turned into a department under the State Department due to its alleged inefficiencies. Elon Musk, the head of the U.S. government agency responsible for monitoring budget expenditures, stated that reducing foreign aid would also help curb domestic price inflation. Recently, Elon Musk posted on X describing U.S. aid as a group of criminals that should be dismantled. For over 60 years, U.S. aid has been the primary channel through which the U.S. provides humanitarian assistance, particularly to Africa. In Rwanda, U.S. aid supports sectors such as healthcare, agriculture, and education. Rwanda has already taken significant steps toward financial self-reliance, as it is currently funding 83.2% of its national budget, indicating that these changes will not have a severe impact on the country. During a press conference on the 10th of January, President Paul Kagame stated that these changes are not happening in the U.S. alone, but are part of the global shift, which should serve as a lesson in self-reliance. The U.S. Agency for International Development was established in 1961 and is headquartered in Washington, D.C. It operates in over 60 countries, but also has programs in many others, employing over 10,000 staff, most of whom work outside the U.S. Data from 2023 shows that the U.S. provided $68 billion in foreign aid, with more than $40 billion channeled through USAID. Media and communication experts say that in today's world, technology has made it easier to share information, but people must be cautious as some use technology to spread falsehoods. We have more on this coming from Enora Gladys.
Social media users report that the information being spread is often varied and should be approached with caution.
If you analyze it carefully and critically, you will realize that social media can provide true information, but otherwise it can be also harmful, especially when used improperly. However, these platforms are in tune with the times and have the potential to accelerate the dissemination of information.
Sometimes is tense, to be honest, but as far as I'm concerned, if I remember, like our army, our leadership is at stake. So sometimes if you get afraid, like, let me tell everyone watching, settle down. The country has us in hands. Like, you have nothing to worry about because we've come a long way. And we're not planning any sooner to go back there. Like, our army, our president, our leadership, they're not sitting and they're not taking it for granted.
Social media influencers emphasize that they are fighting a battle against those who spread lies.
As Rwandans, we are very concerned, especially now social media influencers or even those ones who interact with social media. We are very concerned with spreading right information. Because currently, if you are to go into details, people are invested in knowing what's happening, what's going on. So it's only troublesome to have false information, fake news. Like you can see contradiction into different leaders from the RSC. People contradict themselves. Says that Goma is not captured, others come up with different stories, different versions. So social media users need to know what exactly should we look for while reading news. So as social media users, we need only to base on reality, what's happening on ground. At a later stage, even understanding what is the root cause of what's happening. Because it's not only something that came up overnight. It's something that's been there for quite some time, now 3 decades from when the genocide against Tutsi in Rwanda stopped. So having FDRL in Congo, having unrest, insecurity at our borders, we are very invested in understanding and spreading the reality of the story.
Contribution is, like, as you see me, I can't go there and fight. So the contribution of mine is to go there and write something which is good on my country, because some people, the citizens of Congo, are there killing people or spreading bad news to Rwanda. So as a social media influencer, as a Rwandan citizen, I'm here to support my country by saying that what they are saying is not true, by giving some facts and expressing my emotions. Rwanda have a good leadership, a good leader, His Excellency Paul Kagame. So as a Rwandan citizen, I'm here to support my country, telling people that what people are saying is not true. So I'm here to give them the proof. There may be the videos, the photos.
Communication experts suggest that social media users need to be aware of the platforms they use to ensure they receive accurate information and understand the proper ways to engage with them.
For example, if there are various categories of information and content creators. There are those who make effort to produce factual information, information that can help you to know what's going on, that will tell you that's true that there is conflict in Congo, but the reality on the ground is ABC. It's up to people to know which information they are consuming, who they are following, most importantly, to make sure that they make right choices. Because if you follow those people who just produce alarming information because they want followership, because they want, actually there are various agendas. There are those who will publish that information, because among the information people consume, there are information produced by the conflicting sides. So if you consume information from a guy who is on the DRC Army side or DRC authorities side, they will make sure that there is information which is showing that Rwanda will be attacked, Rwanda will be, that kind of information.
Currently, the majority of social media users are young people. These platforms help them combat falsehoods and are also a good way to disseminate true information. Enora Gladys, reporting for RwandaTV News.
Moving on to the health sector, the Rwanda Biomedical Center has reported that in 2024, approximately 3,000 people died from various types of cancer. Survivors of the disease appreciate the progress made in cancer treatment in Rwanda and advise everyone to get regular checkups, as early detection increases the chances of recovery. Rwanda has made significant progress in cancer diagnosis and treatment, with various methods now available for detection and care. February 4th is recognized as World Cancer Day. The World Health Organization reports that the number of cancer-related deaths continues to rise, with 20 million new cases recorded in 2022 and 10 million fatalities. In Rwanda, RBC reported that in 2024, 5,500 new cancer cases were detected and approximately 3,000 people succumbed to the disease. The most fatal types of cancer in Rwanda are breast cancer, followed by cervical cancer and prostate cancer. Colorectal, stomach, and liver cancers rank fourth among the deadliest. Moving ahead, the Rwanda National Police emphasizes that its partnership with citizens through the community policing program over the past 10 years has played a significant role in reducing crime. This success is mainly attributed to timely information sharing, which helps prevent crimes before they occur. Among those who closely collaborate with the police are over 1.7 million volunteer youths across the country who are actively engaged in crime prevention and public safety efforts. In Rusizi district, these youth volunteers assist in guiding pedestrians and educating them on proper road usage during the day. In Kamembe town, where there is a high movement of people, their efforts help prevent road accidents caused by shared use of roads by both pedestrians and various vehicles. All these security-related activities are carried out in collaboration with Rwanda National Police and other security agencies, with each entity contributing according to its capacity and mandate. Citizens acknowledge that the partnership between the police and youth volunteers has yielded tangible results. The Rwanda National Police has been working with communities to combat and prevent crime for over a decade under the Community Policing Initiative. Currently, Rwanda has over 2.8 million youth volunteers, with approximately 1.7 million actively supporting the police in crime prevention efforts. The police aim to increase this number, as security is regarded as the foundation of the country's development. The University of Rwanda, in partnership with the MasterCard Foundation Scholars Program, on Monday recognized 20 outstanding student-led projects that have inspired innovation for development and social welfare. Each awarded project received a grant of $5,000 to enhance its impact and facilitate implementation. The University of Rwanda, in collaboration with the MasterCard Foundation Scholars Program, plans to expand the number of student projects funded under the initiative. The program, which has been running for 3 years, is set to continue for an additional 7 years.
utekereza ko guhora wiziganya n'umushu ari byo birenze? Natwe niko tubibona. Ubona nta cyakurutira kugaragaza impano yawe, niko bimeze.
So guys, uyu munsi tugiye kuganira ku gaseke. Agaseke njyewe gafite byinshi. Kamari, ese wowe kakumariye iki? Manudi. Halo Manudi, niba iki uri kunkura mu kazi? Hero mabusha, byahiye kandi noneho bimeze neza cyane. Umva ukuntu biri no guhumura. Ako Manudi, urumva nakumva ko ibyo bihumura koko?
Ubona nta cyakurutura umwuga wawe. Erega, natwe niko tubibona. Dushyigikiye buri kimwe agaciro mu buzima bwawe na irekure nshya. Buri wese arahishiwe, wikwisondeka. Kanda akanyenyeri 140 urwego, uhitemo agaseke kawe ka packs zo guhamagara, cyangwa akanyenyeri 345 urwego, uhitemo bando za internet uryoherwe n'umuvuduko wa 4G.
Thank you for sticking with us on RTV News, and a warm welcome back to other stories making headlines on the international scene. Over to Ukraine. Ukrainian culture is booming amid the war with Russia. That's despite the constant rocket attacks and damage to almost 500 heritage sites, according to UNESCO. Experts say Ukrainians have never been as interested in their own culture as they are now. VOA has the details.
A full house for every performance. Everything sold out months in advance.
Are there any tickets for the performance, The Kadash Family?
Officials with the Ivan Franko National Academic Drama Theatre say last year it drew the biggest crowds in its century-long history.
We open ticket sales a month ahead. There are 31 days in March, and after 18 minutes, there were no tickets for any performance for the whole month.
Nishuk says when the full-scale invasion started, the theatre troupe paused work for about a half year. After performances resumed, the demand skyrocketed.
Culture in the most difficult times is such a factor in spiritual stability. Over the past year, the theatre's income has almost tripled. We played 100 more performances compared to previous years.
Nishuk says Ukrainians are showing a much greater appreciation for their culture in the face of a Russian threat. The art exhibition curator Olena Grozovska agrees.
The threat to our identity and culture has helped people realize how important it is. We see Russians as using culture as a weapon. Unfortunately, we haven't been proactive for a long time.
The exhibition is dedicated to Alla Gorska, a monumentalist artist and Ukrainian dissident who faced persecuted during the Soviet era in the 1960s.
The processes that took place then, unfortunately, repeat now. Ukrainian culture is being destroyed. Russians demolished Horska's mosaics in occupied Mariupol, so we hit a nerve with this exhibition.
Gorska's works were not known well to the general public before, Grozovska admits, but this exhibition drew much larger crowds than expected.
52,000 people visited in a month and a half. This interest amazed us all.
Book production also jumped 73% in 2023, according to the State Register of Publishers. And more bookstores are opening, especially in large cities. This three-story shop, Sense on Khreshchatyk, the central street of Kyiv, opened last year.
Even my team was saying it was too much space for us. And within a month of opening, the same people said there wasn't enough space. We need more.
Now its store gets about 50,000 visitors per month, Erinchak says.
Before the invasion, 70 to 75% of the market was Russian books. When they left the market, Ukrainian books got carte blanche. Russia is no longer suppressing Ukrainian books for sales as it did for 30 years.
Erinchak says now is a good time to seize on renewed interest in Ukrainian culture. Meanwhile, UNESCO says the cost of repairing Russian damage to Ukraine's cultural sites will cost an average of $680 million per year until 2033. Lesia Bakalets, VOA News, Kyiv.
Heading over to the U.S., President Donald Trump's weekend announcement of tariffs on Canada, China, and Mexico sent global markets in a downward spiral Monday. They recovered some lost ground when Trump announced he would postpone tariffs in exchange for concessions. VOA continues.
Other countries charge us tariffs.
President Donald Trump's weekend tariff announcement is being felt in Ottawa, in Mexico City, in Beijing, and here, in New York, Hong Kong, Seoul, and Taipei. Around the world, markets fell Monday after Trump dropped 25% tariffs on Mexico and Canada, and 10% on China. In Washington, Trump spoke of his agreement Monday with Mexico to pause the tariffs for a month in exchange for concessions from Mexico City, meant to stop migration flows and the movement of illegal drugs across the southern border. Markets quickly made up some losses after his announcement. He also announced a similar pause with Canada later on Monday.
We have to stop people from pouring in, and we have to stop fentanyl, and that includes China. Fentanyl has killed this year at least 200,000 people. It's pouring in from China through Mexico and Canada, and they've got to stop it. And if they don't stop it, the tariffs are going to get worse, a lot worse.
Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum sounded a hopeful note on Monday.
I'm sure that in this month we'll be able to have results, good results for your people, good results for the people of Mexico. And this was the result of the agreement. It was a good conversation, with respect.
Economic scholars say consumers will start to feel the pinch soon and pointed to historical parallels.
This brings us back to the 1930s, when, as you may recall, a trade war was one of the factors that deepened the Great Depression as economies all over the world erected barriers in order to keep imports out. In the longer term, keeping tariffs high would end up reducing the total amount of global trade, which would diminish competition and reduce the diffusion across the world of technological innovations, and that could end up over a longer term reducing the pace of U.S. and global economic growth.
China's ambassador to the United Nations, Fu Kong, on Monday said Beijing would turn to the World Trade Organization for recourse.
We do believe that this is in violation of the WTO rules, so that's why China is filing a complaint at the WTO, and also we may be forced to take countermeasures. And let me also emphasize that there is no winner in a trade war.
Trump acknowledged that the move would raise prices, but said the higher tariffs would be worth the price to bolster U.S. interests. Anita Powell, VOA News, the White House.
Recent outbreak of the H5N1 avian influenza virus in the U.S. and the potential for it to mutate has raised concerns among the scientific community that it could result in human-to-human transmission and a new pandemic. Farmers are also concerned. VOA once more.
Feeding time. George Terwilliger runs Pleasant Vale Farm in Delaplane, Virginia, west of Washington. He has modified his small-scale operation due to the H5N1 avian influenza virus. The so-called bird flu has resulted in not only a high U.S. bird mortality since 2022, but also a sharp increase in the price of eggs nationwide.
We here on this farm have not expanded our chickens over the last year or two out of fear that we might inadvertently bring birds in that are infected.
Terwilliger, a member of the Virginia Department of Wildlife Resources Board, is also concerned about the risk bird flu could pose to his hogs and to about 100 cows and calves that he owns.
If the disease were to get to the point where it infects cattle and makes them sick or makes their meat, these are beef cattle, makes their meat unacceptable, that would put us out of business.
Bird flu in dairy cows was first reported in late March. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention says the public health risk remains low, with just 67 confirmed infections from animals to humans and 1 death. Constant changes in the genome of the virus, however, have some scientists worried.
If there are changes that make it more possible for the virus to transmit from person to person, which so far we haven't seen, then that could be a real challenge in terms of our public health response, and is the reason that we think of this virus as having pandemic potential.
People can minimize the risk of infection, Davis added.
Avoiding contact with sick or dead wild animals is probably the most important thing to do. We know that pasteurization of milk, cooking of meat to the recommended temperatures, and cooking of eggs are effective to really inactivate this particular virus.
Pet owners are advised to monitor recalls of contaminated pet food and raw milk, and to keep their pets away from contact with wild birds. As he keeps a watchful eye on the latest developments, Terwilliger is planning ahead.
Typically, sometime a month or so from now, we would buy turkey poults to raise turkeys for commercial sale at Thanksgiving. I'm not sure we'll do that this year because I would be concerned about where I get the birds from. Will they come with avian flu?
In the meantime, he says he'll follow the science and hopes that the disease runs its course, all while keeping a very close eye on his livestock. Veronica Valderas Iglesias, VOA News, Delaplane, Virginia.
And that VOA story marks the end of our bulletin. Before we close off, let's have a recap of our headlines. Members of the South African Parliament's Defence Committee have urged their government to withdraw the South African National Defence Force from Eastern DRC, citing its collaboration with the FARDC and militia groups, including the genocidal FDLR. Media and communication experts say that in today's world, technology has made it easier to share information, but people must be cautious as some use technology to spread falsehoods. On the international scale, Ukrainian culture is booming amid the war with Russia. That's despite the constant rocket attacks and damage to almost 500 heritage sites, according to UNESCO. And that marks the end of our English news edition. On behalf of the news production team as well as the technical team, thank you for sticking with us on RTV News. And I, Martina Abera, was the one bringing you the edition tonight. Stay safe and have a great night.